Good morning. This is part D of the fractured furry tales of with Freya and Squatting Dog, and we left off on how to make changes in a corrupt and inhumane shelter. For the animals. This is what's going on and how I did it with California Animal Care. It was horrible there. And I think part one, I talked about, getting the videotape out 3 different days, 3 different times, and for whatever. And then I went across the Coachella Valley and Press Enterprise and the Desert Sun. The media started picking up on it because it was horrible. My older brother, he was watching me on the news down in LA in South Bay, and I'm up here, or over there in the desert. And so, it was starting to pick up steam because it was horrible. There was, you don't let them, say, don't believe your lying eyes. So anyways, it started picking up steam, and I got a call from one of the city managers of the cities that they used there, the Coachella Valley Wide Animal Campus, or before that, California Animal Care used. And how it got that way is the community was growing by leaps and bounds, and they were adding their sphere of influence to each city that they contracted with. The other one didn't want to be outdone, and so it was out of sight, out of mind. And because they were busy, building building their cities up and developing and things like that. Well, when it's just Cathedral City, it was just a regular, like, say, a cylinder. And then as each city they contracted with, their sphere of influence on the top got larger and greater, and so did their income. But they didn't do any improvements in the shelter, which they were pocketing all that money and not doing anything to keep up with the population that's growing and the pet owners and stuff like that. It was just horrible. So they did the 3-day catch and kill, don't take them to the vet, let's even save more money, and on and on and on. So, one day the ranch manager for a city manager for Rancho Morelos called, and I'm out there running my mouth. So of course, he called me in and asked me to come in. And we sat down. It was just he and I. And we had a polite conversation. And he asked me, he says, Herb, what if they do a good job but don't like animals? And I go, well, I want an airline pilot that loves flying to fly my planes. I don't want a airline pilot that wants to be a construction guy to fly my planes. I just feel better. And he says, if they do a good job, or legally, or this or that, or not, I still want somebody that loves planes to fly the plane. I trust them more than the carpenter flying it. Even though the carpenter's pretty qualified and did all that stuff, he might be thinking about gables and trusses and stuff rather than landing and that's what I'm saying. So anyways, we had a very nice talk. He says, well, I have 2 desks full of stuff other than animal things. And I go, I have 1 desk back at Saving Pet that's full of a ton of animal stuff. And so I understand what it was. He goes, it's been out of sight, out of mind. We contracted them to take care of it. And I go, well, they're not, because that's why we're here. And so I met with a nice guy, but I understand if you just think animals are widgets, that's how you would look at it. Then Mr. Ortega, I believe his name was, a UCLA guy. I used to call him Gonzalez. Memory's old, but anyways, he had a bunch of UCLA things, and he called me in, and this was after a meeting with Mr. Wilson, where Marianne Mott, who was a writer, started a little paper there. When we met, she was coming out to Save a Pet, helping. And then her first interview was Betty White, and she ended up writing for Dog Fancy. So anyways, her and I went to see Mr. Wilson because I wanted somebody there to, write and take notes and everything. And she did, but it was too premature. But then Mr. Ortega called from Palm Desert, and her and I, we met over there, and we went in there and we're talking to him. and he says, told me, we're talking about, all the horrors that are going on there. And, I gave my little cylinder and funnel speech. And, the bottom is getting bigger here in the Coachella Valley because, populations are growing and et cetera, et cetera. And they were by leaps and bounds. There was development everywhere. And so anyways, I told him, he looks at me, and I told him we were mad. Everybody's, he's getting a ton of calls. But instead of like, trying to shut me up. He wanted to see what we could offer, which was great. And that's how it's supposed to be done. So anyways, and he says, Herb, he goes, what are the solutions? What solutions do you have to help us out? And I looked at him, and I hadn't a clue. Freaking lost, man. I know I could be mad about that. I mean, I know what to do for animals. I knew what to do for Save a Pet. I knew what to do to help Animal Samaritans when they were going through a PR nightmare, and I knew what to help the city of Desert Hot Springs. I hadn't a clue. And so, I looked at him with my best poker face. I hadn't gotten that far in the old cranial. And oh no, that's a real serious. Oh man, I was like, Mr. Serious. Oh, Mr. Ortega, give me 2 weeks and I'll come back with some solutions for you that you will really love. And it will help the animals and it'll make you guys all look good. And he goes, good, we'll meet in 2 weeks. I was like, oh shit. Anyway, so Marianne and I, we went walking out and she's looking at me and I go, I haven't a clue, just keep walking. Anyways, that was that. Love for All, part 3 tomorrow on the